Hey y'all, welcome back for a What's for Dinner video. I'm sharing 3 meals that our family has had recently that are really yummy, and I think you guys will like them too, so stick around to see all 3 meals. If you're new here, I would love to have you subscribe to be part of our YouTube family. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you like new meal ideas, but let's go ahead and get into the video. First up, we've got a Southwestern chicken casserole, and this one was very easy to put together. I've got 2 chicken breasts that I cut up, and then we've got some cheeses. I used Colby and Monterey Jack, and then I've also got a onion that I'll chop up. For seasonings, I use paprika, garlic powder, chili powder, cumin. I had a jar of salsa, and then 2 cups of brown rice and 2 cups of reduced sodium chicken broth. So first I sprayed my 9x13 pan and preheated the oven to 375. Then you want to start putting everything into your pan. So I put all of the chicken and spread it out evenly on the bottom, poured the rice and chicken broth on top, and I have to say I was a little skeptical that this wouldn't come out right, but it turned out perfectly fine. Then add everything else, so my salsa and then my seasonings and onions, and I also had a can of black beans and corn that I forgot to show in the beginning, but I did end up adding those as well. So for paprika, I used a half a teaspoon, and then I did a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of ground cumin, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and then if you have cilantro, you can add that, but I waited too long to use mine and it went bad before I got to use it, but if you want to add that, you can. I also want to show you real quick, I thought it would be cool to show, I found this onion keeper at TJ Maxx, and I thought it was so cool. You just stick it on there and twist it, and no matter what size onion you have, it will fit in there. I thought it was awesome. If I can find one, I'll link it down in the description box below so you can check it out, but it's really cool. So you want to make sure everything's nice and stirred together well before putting it in the oven, and you do want to cover this with foil, but I realized we didn't have any foil, so I made a easy recipe a little more difficult and switched it over into a Dutch oven that had a lid so that I could still cook it in the oven. You want to cook it, the recipe that I followed said 50 minutes. Mine was done before that. It took about 35, so you just kind of have to check to see for the chicken. It was overcooked if it would have been cooked any longer. But then the last 10 minutes you want to take the lid off, sprinkle your cheese on, and stick it back in the oven to let it melt. But that is it. This recipe was so easy, and I was a little skeptical that it was going to be like runny because of the chicken broth, but the rice just soaked it right up. So it turned out to be a really good casserole, and we all really enjoyed it. You can top this however you want. I just kept it simple and left it plain, but you could do sour cream, salsa, green onions, cilantro, whatever you want. I think it would turn out really good, but on to the next recipe. So for this meal, we're doing the chicken KFC bowls, and these turned out really good. I actually saw Jennifer at Southern Mama Drama doing this, and I'd been wanting to make them for a long time, so I'm finally trying them out this night. And I did do some mashed potatoes in the Instant Pot as well, and I made that last time I did a What's for Dinner video, so I'll just briefly go through that again when I make it. It's really simple. And then we're using some brown gravy, corn, and then I couldn't find the kind of popcorn chicken she used, or the banquet kind. This is the kind I had, and it was more like chicken strips than popcorn chicken. I'll show you in a little bit, but that's all the ingredients you need. This is another easy meal for sure. So to do the mashed potatoes, I used a cup of chicken broth, well, not quite a cup, and then cut up about 5 or 6 potatoes, just depending on how much you want for your family. Close it to seal, and then set it for 12 minutes, and that's it. You let it go, and while that was cooking in the Instant Pot, I made my brown gravy. So here is an inside look of my chicken strips, or popcorn chicken, whatever you want to qualify them as. I mean, they were pretty big. Definitely bigger than popcorn chicken. I like my chicken to be kind of smaller. I'm a little bit picky on that, but I did stick it in the air fryer, so I didn't worry about putting it in the oven. Just dump it all in the air fryer. I'm literally all about easy meals, so just did it for however long I thought it should be. Once the gravy was done, I set it to the side until everything else was done, then went back to my mashed potatoes and let all the air out, opened it back up, dropped the stick of butter in and the block of cream cheese. Then you want to put the lid back on it for about 5 minutes just to let that melt pretty good, and once it's done, you'll be able to take the lid off and mash it up really good. I did add our desired amount of salt and pepper to the mashed potatoes as well, so just do whatever you would like for you and your family, and then just assemble it however you want. I did mashed potatoes, then the corn, chicken, and gravy on top with some shredded cheese sprinkled on top as well. This turned out really good and it was very filling. Travis really liked it too, and then the boys pretty much had like a deconstructed chicken bowl. They had the chicken and then some other stuff on the side as well. Turned out to be a really good meal, and definitely will be making this again. Now for the meal that was probably my favorite out of all 3 meals. It was so delicious. We're going to be making some lasagna soup. So for this, we're going to use about 11 of those lasagna noodles. I've got a pound of ground beef, some crushed red pepper, parsley, olive oil, salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, 1 cup of ricotta cheese, a jar of marinara sauce, a little bit of that tomato paste. We won't be using the whole thing, 3 cloves of garlic, an onion, and then some water as well. Getting started, I turned my Instant Pot on saute, and then once it was heated, added a couple tablespoons of olive oil, then went ahead and chopped up my onion and minced 3 cloves of garlic. And you can do this in 2 different steps if you want, but I chose not to. I just like to cook all of it together, so I added my onion and garlic and ground beef all in there at the same time and just cook it like you normally would. And while that was cooking, I went ahead and broke up all the lasagna noodles into like 3 or 4 pieces each noodle. I did have a video clip of me breaking the noodles, but it went missing somewhere. So once the meat is done, I went ahead and added 2 teaspoons of the tomato paste in there, and then added the seasoning. So a tablespoon of the Italian seasoning, 1/2 a teaspoon of red pepper. You can do more or less depending on how spicy you want it. I did a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 a teaspoon of black pepper. And you want to cook that just for about a minute to let everything mix together really good. Then add your jar of marinara sauce, 2 cups of water, another teaspoon of salt, and another 1/4 a teaspoon of black pepper. I have no idea why you separate it like that, but I followed the instructions, so that's what I did. And make sure that you are stirring along the bottom, scraping, making sure nothing sticks as well. After I got all the seasonings mixed in, that's when I added my lasagna noodles. You just kind of want to layer them, making sure that they all get stuck down in there, submerged. And then once you get them all added, you'll add in another cup of water on top, stir it one more good time, and then close it and make sure it is set to seal, and cook it on the pressure cook setting for 5 minutes. Then it'll take quite a little bit of time for it to, pressurize, about 10 to 12 minutes actually. So while that was cooking, in a separate bowl, I added the 1 cup of ricotta cheese and 1/2 a cup of Parmesan cheese, mixed that together really well and set it aside. But I feel like I always forget something in the beginning of the video, and this time it was the Parmesan cheese and mozzarella cheese, so we will be using some mozzarella here in just a second too. So once the 5 minutes was up, I let it naturally release for 10 minutes. Then you can go ahead and do the quick release after that. And I gave it another good stir before adding in my ricotta mixture. I kind of just did dollops of it and sprinkled the mozzarella on top as well. And you kind of want to let the lid, you can do it either way, you can just stir it in, but I chose to let the lid sit back on it and let it melt a little bit first. It turned out so cheesy and yummy. You just kind of have to stir it all back together. But this turned out so good. I did sprinkle some parsley on top and then served it. I had a friend over the night that I made this, and she loved it too. We all had seconds on this. Seriously, if you try any of these, try this. I'm not even like a huge regular kind of lasagna fan, but something about it was just absolutely delicious. And we served it with some garlic bread that I just made in the air fryer really quick with some butter and garlic powder as well. And that was supper for this night. So yummy. That's going to be it for this video. I hope it provided you with some new meal ideas, but I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a good day.